I'm seeing a lot of sellers not just satisfied with taking the money from the consummation of the deal and putting it in their pocket. They want to see the business succeed long after they're gone.
Welcome to the My Future Business Show, where we get you in front of your best audience and keep you there. Not only are we interviewing the biggest names in business to help you become even more successful, we're inviting you to book your spot on the show to help you grow your business. So at the end of the call, make sure you fill in the interview application form at myfuturebusiness.com/interviews. Hi and welcome to the My Future Business Show. I am your host. My name is Rick Nuske, and today we have a very special guest, and we have not spoken about this topic on the My Future Business Show ever. As soon as I saw the information about this particular business, I knew that I had to talk to the individual who leads this up. His name is Mark Passacantando. How are you, Mark?
I'm doing well, thanks.
Look,
good to be here.
Yeah, welcome to the show. It's one of those things, when we talk about what we're just about to share with the audience, that I don't think a lot of people think about. And they talk about, their bright and shiny objects at the start, and they get lost in all of that sort of front end stuff. But they don't necessarily talk a bit about this at all, and nor do they have any plans for it. But before we jump into the nuts and bolts of the call, Mark, I'd love to share a little bit about your personal life, what you do when you're not working.
Yeah, sure. So I like to spend time with family, friends.
Mm-hmm.
I like to get to the outdoors. I enjoy hiking. I enjoy climbing mountains. I enjoy playing tennis. I enjoy music.
Yep.
And most importantly, just spending time with people that I care about and trying to give back to the community as well.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Because we can, spend a lot of our lifetime, can't we, just working when there's other parts to it.
Certainly, no doubt.
And I think, on balance, we need to consider those things. But let's jump right into it. Now, Mark heads up NorthAtlanticBA.com, and we're going to be talking about exit strategies today, Mark. But for everybody who is on the call today who may not know, Mark, could you explain to them what this actually means?
Sure. The firm is North Atlantic Business Advisors. We're located on the East Coast in the United States, headquartered in West Hartford. We split time between West Hartford, Connecticut, and Boston, Massachusetts. Mm-hmm. We cover the Northeast. And we're focused, Rick, on working with privately held business owners in the lower middle market. And what that means generally is we look at annual revenue or sales of a particular company.
Yep.
Irrespective of what industry they're in, we're industry agnostic, meaning we go anywhere, and we apply a certain approach to helping these business owners prepare for the eventuality of their exit, because by definition, 100% of business owners will exit, right?
At some stage, yes.
No doubt. So, the statistics now, there's a lot of activity. They're a little bit troubling. About 67% of business owners, when they sell, they haven't done the exit planning. And so we like to have a runway, we like to call it, of 2 to 3 years where we can be most effective to sit down with these business owners and do some work and add and unlock value so that when they're ready to sell, they're getting the best price and the best terms.
Yeah, so this seems to me that in the very early stages of anyone's business, they should be looking at doing this.
Yeah, technically, Rick, the time to plan your exit is when you're starting the business.
Yeah.
And it's so difficult because there's so many hours in a day and people are hyper-focused on starting hyper-growth, what ingredients or formula they're going to need, most important in my opinion being the people, to generate whatever success as they define it. So we're big fans of having metrics to drive and evaluate the KPIs, right, the key performance indicators, and for different businesses those are going to be different things. So if you're Microsoft, operating in that software business, you're going to have certain KPIs directly related to that. If you're constructing single-family homes where people reside, those KPIs are going to be different.
Mm-hmm.
So no two businesses are alike. We like to say that each business is as unique as our fingerprint.
Yeah.
And so, we like to treat businesses in that manner.
There seems to be, Mark, a lot of, you just mentioned Microsoft, and there seems to be a lot of take-off of online businesses, not alone, let alone, just your traditional offline businesses. Are they businesses that you can help as well?
Absolutely. It's funny, Rick, that you bring this up because we launched a campaign here at our firm just last month to really start to explore and identify the e-commerce businesses. We're talking to some international players. And what I love about the e-commerce businesses, they're true stories of the entrepreneurial spirit where somebody has an idea and they can create it from anywhere, whether it's a corporate office or their kitchen table.
Yeah.
And I was just looking today at some folks who have just created some multi-million-dollar businesses. Top line revenue, they're generating good net income or EBITDA. Some of them are looking to sell, and they've done very, very well in a short amount of time.
Yeah.
So I like those businesses. And the other nice thing about them, clearly is you can run them from anywhere. So, we can run a UK-based business or an Australia-based business from the US and vice versa.
Yeah, well, look, it's a global reach, really, isn't it?
It is. It is. The power of technology.
Yes.
We like to leverage that technology whenever possible.
Yeah, I often hear people say, if you're not online, where are you? I guess it's becoming far more relevant nowadays with, the reliability of the internet and our love for it.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. I think, one cannot afford not to be online. By the same token, I have really, over the last 3 years, gained a new appreciation, for example, in the marketing area, whether it's us marketing or some of our clients. It's interesting. Traditional marketing still works.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, for example, I'm meeting with a prospective buyer and seller, and, they want to meet face to face. We said, should we do this? Let's sit down. We want to look somebody in the eye. We want to see their facial expressions. We want to spend time, to get more of a personal touch and a better read as to what's going on.
Get a feel for them.
Yeah, I think so. And I don't know that that's ever going to go away.
No.
And if you're a little bit of an old-timer like me, if I may, I get my newspaper every day, and I like to open it and read it and touch it and feel it and cut it out. I need to underline it if I need to. And I think there's a lot of people like that. And I also see that to some extent. I still teach part-time at Boston University. I've been there for 17 years.
Yep.
Teaching finance and investment management. And so while a lot of the younger people today are certainly very adept at online and technology, software, hardware, etc., I still think that even with my students, there's still an appreciation for those traditional methods.
Yeah, absolutely. If I may, I'd love to bring up an example of when my wife and I were looking to buy a particular trains, now a business in Adelaide, inside the Adelaide Railway Centre, where there was a minimum of 500 to 1,000 foot traffic every so many hours, because it was where people got off and on the trains. Now, this was about buying a business, admittedly, but it seems to me that the end of somebody's business is the start of somebody else's. And I recall having to have a number of different people involved. Are you involved in that phase and talking to both sides of the contract agreements for buying and selling businesses? Are you involved?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, no, we have to by definition. So we'll get generally brought in by sellers. That's where we spend a lot of our time. Identifying who they are in relationships, understanding, their business, the history of the business, their needs. And what we do, which is, I'm not going to say unique, but not a lot of folks in our space go to this extent in the vertical, is, we'll ask questions personally, because these are people. Microsoft is started by a person, and Amazon and Tesla, et cetera, et cetera. So what are they contemplating doing once they retire? Who's going to be part of of their circle. Are they going to travel? Are they going to play golf? Are they going to spend time with family? How much capital are they going to need? What's their standard of living? And so we really explore that to provide full value if we can. And then, of course, when the seller comes to the table, we have to really the buyer, we really have to get an understanding as to what's motivating and driving them. Are they a financial buyer? Are they a strategic buyer?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
What is their experience? Do we think that just because they have the money, is that enough? Or do they have the experience and the wisdom to take the new business and really take it to the next level? Psychologically, what's interesting, Rick, it's not interesting, fascinating, is I'm seeing a lot of sellers not just satisfied with taking the money from the consummation of the deal
mm-hmm.
and putting it in their pocket. They want to see the business succeed long after they're gone. So they have this attachment, this sentimental attachment to the business.
Mm-hmm.
And that's critically important. And in fact, in some cases, if the seller feels that the buyer is able to be successful or take it to the next highest level, they won't sell. So it's not just about the money. I find that very gratifying.
Yeah, look, I just had this thought in my mind. Could that be potentially a negative consequence, is actually having too much attachment to a business?
Yeah, I suppose, like many things in life, I think, the part of the human condition is we're challenged by separation, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And a lot of examples of that. And part of the grace is to be able to, at the right time and places, to be able to let go when the time is right. And I think you're right, in certain cases, some of these owners who have been in it, I was with a business owner yesterday in the healthcare side of things,
Mm-hmm.
been doing it for 47 years. And
47 years, that's a while.
And it was he. I mean, in his 70s, probably a good time to retire, financially.
Yeah.
Very well off, wealthy, from what I can tell. But it's so attached to it.
Yeah.
That becomes a big challenge.
And it becomes their baby, doesn't it? Really.
I think it does. So there's two sides to that coin, right?
Yeah.
The gratification, the sentimental value, the financial reward, the not so good news is that there needs to come a day where you do part. In other cases, and I'm seeing this more and more so, is that sellers have a medical condition.
Yeah.
I was with a 5-star restaurant owner recently who has had 2 strokes and other heart ailments. We just don't know whether he's going to be around for much longer. He's holding on to the business. So it's a little bit of a coming home to the
time,
the reality that he really needs to look to sell at some point soon, or at least put a plan in place for part of his team to really step up and take over.
Yeah, but as I think about it, and the time and the effort and the money and the sweat and the tears that I've invested into my own business, you can reflect, knowing what you've shared, and thank you for sharing it with us. Is that it becomes part of you, it becomes part of your everyday life. So it could be quite easy to get caught up in finding that change very hard to deal with.
I think so. And we as advisors and partners, counselors, I mean, I can insert a number of words. I find that in my personal experience, I do my best work not by jumping into the business issues, but by developing relationship,
mm-hmm.
developing trust. And you can't teach that, I think. It's just been, in my case, 35 years of diverse experience out in the world, both the good and the bad, right?
Yeah.
So the success and the failures that have taught me. And where I am today is to really have a deep connection with the people I'm working with, to help educate, to be a good listener, active listening.
Mm-hmm.
Not always be willing to talk to fill in the next gap, and to get to that point where then you can have impact because you've invested the time to connect with that person and build trust.
Yeah, absolutely.
Some people it happens more quickly, and some people it really takes a while. All the personalities are different.
Now, as you can hear, if you're on the call with us today, Mark shared a little bit about soft skills and the development I guess a human being over time to actually be able to truly relate and build real foundational relationships with people in your business. So that's a massive takeaway, Mark. Thank you so much for sharing now. Mark, I'm looking at your website and I can see some things here about assessing, optimizing, positioning, identifying, providing, and matching. Is that part of your S3 strat exit process? Could you tell us a little bit more about that whole process?
Yeah, that's a process that we have developed over many years. I've borrowed a little bit from some past experiences in the world of consulting. I've done some work with major corporations and governmental agencies.
Yep.
And we wanted to bring to the firm a structured process where we can apply, in most cases, to companies to identify the opportunities, the uniqueness that a particular company has, a surveying, if you will, of the value drivers, a survey of the risk metrics, a survey of the revenue drivers of a particular company. And by doing that, we get a pretty good feel as to where they've been, where they are, and probably most importantly, the potentiality going forward, either for them or a new buyer.
Yeah.
We then go through a process of synthesizing that information in a way that's going to be meaningful to us, and then to present it to the owners, whether it's one owner, a single owner, partners, a board. And so we have to synthesize it in a way that has meaning to them. And then, to move forward to a solution phase, which is the last part of the S3,
yep.
Which is to provide, advice as to how they're going to reach their goals, to determine, what bottom line number they're looking for, and what the structure of the deal is going to be, whether there's any debt financing or there's going to be any holdbacks or earnouts, some of the technical aspects of some of these deals. So we like to apply a process.
Yep.
I think to systematize just really makes a lot of sense over time, and then we tweak and fine-tune that as we need to.
And it's confidence building, knowing that you do have control over your process and you know step by step what they need to do. I suspect that some business owners are good at what they do, but not so good at this process. I had a thought, Mark. If you have multiple owners and you're sitting in front of them and they're your client, and they have different ideas on what the exit strategy should look like for their business, how do you navigate that sort of space when it comes up?
Very carefully.
Oh, yeah.
Very carefully. Yeah, no, it's a good question. I think, ideally, these business owners are partners by definition. They should have at least had that discussion before they form the partnership.
Yeah.
As to what we're looking to develop over what time frame, and what does our collective exit strategy look like, i.e. if they weren't able to do that, arguably they shouldn't be partners.
Yeah.
But like most things in life, the difficult things, what do? We put them high on the shelf. We don't look at them unless we have to. So, I'll go in and just try to sit in front of the partners together and just have an honest, candid conversation about, what it is they're looking for, what time frame, what numbers, what metrics. Sometimes some partners want to stay involved somehow in the business. Others want to go out and replicate it or move to a vertical because they have knowledge of the space. And then so we'll try to put together, to the best of our ability, a solution that will satisfy all of the partners if possible. If not, we have to call a timeout, maybe bring in, we work with some firms locally that are future design firms.
Yep.
That have a specialty in working through some of the intricacies internal to a particular company. And it's not necessarily, conflict resolution, but there, I think is a science and an art to working through some of these issues, whether it's exit or compensation or some other particular issue.
And the rabbit hole could go fairly deep, I suspect.
I think so. And I also have to be careful, right? I can't practice law by definition because legal issues come up. I'll give you an example. Today I was talking to a business owner who has not only the business but the real estate where the business exists.
Yep.
He doesn't plan on selling that real estate. He wants to collect rent for a period of 5 years. to give him some income once the business is sold. And he has someone else who has a right of first refusal. That is to say that before he can sell the real estate, he's got to go to this third party to say, do you want to buy it first?
Oh, wow.
Well, guess what? I have a copy of that whole contract in my hands. It's technical. I can read through it, but I'm not an attorney.
Yep, yep.
So I've got to be careful to stay in my lane, and work in that area of core competency and know when to hand the ball off to somebody who can handle and in your case, the issue you brought up, where you might have partners who have different ideas.
My future business focuses on the needs of beginner entrepreneurs and existing small to medium-sized business owners, Mark. And I think this is some sage advice if you're listening today to, think about essentially the end first, I guess you'd say, Mark. And if you want to find out more about Mark, where would they actually need to go to start talking with you, Mark?
Yeah, the best place to go is on our website. If I can give that out.
Absolutely.
Which is www.NorthAtlanticBA, as in business advisors, BA.com. And on there, you can just go to the Contact Us, and we have either emails or phone calls, or right through the website you can contact us.
So I noticed, just for everybody who's listening today, and if you've not visited the site already, there's two sides to the service packages that they can offer as business consulting and business intermediary services. Just briefly overview the process that someone will go through when they first make contact with you, Mark.
Yeah, if somebody wants to contact us, first of all, it's not always about money. We're always happy to help, right? So if somebody just wants to have a conversation, we'll make time to do that. If somebody wanted to engage us in either the consulting or the intermediary work, feel free to go to the website. We have a listing of how we choose to work, who we work with, because we don't work with all business owners. We want to be very selective. And if you want to start a dialogue, go to the Contact Us page. That's the best way to do it.
Well, there you go, everyone. If you're listening to the call, that URL will be below this podcast. Just go to NorthAtlanticBA.com. Again, that link will be on this page somewhere, depending on where you see it. You'll be able to find it. Mark, it's been absolutely wonderful having you on the show today, talking about exit strategies, and I've really enjoyed it. And maybe we could have you back on the show again one time.
I would enjoy that. Thanks so much, Frank.
It's been fun having you on the call with us today. Now click on that big red subscribe button and make sure you leave us a comment, share us with your friends, and join the growing list of leading entrepreneurs who have enjoyed their time on the show at myfuturebusiness.com/interviews.